Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains episode review. This time, we will be going over episode 66 of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, the introduction of really all the remaining Ignis. Not formally, the formal introduction of the Earth Ignis at the very least, but we got some backstory on Aqua, who is the Water Ignis, and the Light Ignis, who is still unnamed, but I'm sure will be named something very obvious at some point in time, whether it's like Spark or maybe just Light. I'm sure we will have his name at some point. And what did I think about the episode? I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great way for Earth to be introduced to us. I thought it was a great way for them not only to introduce Earth to us, but I'm glad Playmaker asked I to tell him a little bit about all the remaining Ignis, because it's only natural for Playmaker, just like the audience, just like us, to wonder about the other Ignis and like what their personalities are like. I mean, we've already met 3 of them, and when Windy was introduced to us, there didn't really seem to be a desire from Playmaker and Soulburner to know about the other Ignis, which I thought was a little strange, but then again, I mean, it kind of fits with Playmaker, because he's a very, I don't want to say dry character, but he's a very, like, you know, just wants to get the job done. He doesn't really care about the small stuff. He doesn't care about the details, if you will, when it doesn't pertain to the Lost Incident. But the Ignis are something that are very important to the story, very important to Playmaker, very important to Yusaku. Obviously, they're based off of the kids from the Lost Incident, and so I'm really glad that he asked about them in this episode. And I tells us that the Light Ignis was always very smart, and actually too smart for I to even understand, that the Earth Ignis, and we saw the Earth Ignis, who I thought was hilarious in this episode, a very dry character. He was definitely dry, and he said, "I am socially awkward" like 5 times, which makes him one of the most easily relatable characters in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe. And then there was Aqua, who could tell the difference between truth and lies, and seemed to be like the second in command behind Light. And I like the one scene where I was like, and it's kind of embarrassing for me to say this, but she really liked me. She would always, you know, ask me for help. And then as he's talking about this, we see a completely different picture in the flashback of her slamming him and his poor Link Karibo into the ground. So I thought that was hilarious. Clearly there was some anger, or probably not anger, but it was probably more her getting mad at I for being such an aloof Ignis. And that was probably where her anger towards him stemmed from, but still a really funny dynamic between them. And the last point I want to touch on with the Ignis, at least for now, is at the very end of this episode, are they alluding to the fact that the Water Ignis Aqua is dead? Because you have this beautiful picture when Earth summons this heart monster at the very end of the episode, and all of a sudden it's like the Cyberse world. It's the Cyberse world coming to life, and it's a beautiful picture, and the music is very somber, it's very melancholy, and I then says, that's Aqua's monster. Why does Earth have Aqua's monster? And Earth looks up at the sky, looks up at the heavens, and sees a reflection of Aqua, and says, like, watch this. We're going to learn the truth, something along those lines. And they made it seem, and then the episode ends, and the first thing I said out loud was, did they really kill off the only girl Ignis before she was even introduced to us? Because, hold on, I know that we make jokes all the time about girl characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! But if they actually killed off Aqua before she was even introduced to us, that would be, I want to say, a new level. I don't even know if it would be for girl characters, but that would be so incredible. It would be so incredible, and not in a good way. So I personally don't think that she is dead, but it's just the way they made it seem at the end. They did make it seem like something happened to her, and she is maybe living on through Earth. But in the preview for 67, my fears were a little calmed down, because it seems like Earth and her are going to be having some dialogue. Now, that could be in the past, but clearly she is going to have to play an important role at this point, or an important role at some point, I should say, in the story, as all the Ignis, I'd imagine, will. So I don't think she's dead, but, I mean, you guys let me know what you thought about that. As they were doing that whole ending scene with the sad music and Earth having Aqua's monster, I was like, there's no way that they are hinting that she got killed off in the maybe Cyberse world attacks. If that's what they're hinting at, they killed off the only girl Ignis, that would just be classic Yugioh. There's nothing else you could even say about it. It would just be classic Yugioh. So yeah, the way Playmaker came into contact with Earth was actually pretty hilarious. Earth commented on some like Reddit or 4chan forum and said that he wants to duel Playmaker. And the second I thought, I was like, oh, that's clearly a troll. It's obviously a hoax. And that's exactly what Kusanagi thought. And Playmaker and Yusaku was like, well, not many people know about the Ignis's existence, so maybe we should actually investigate that a little more. I mean, that might actually be the Earth Ignis, as crazy as it sounds. And so I writes to him in some special code. He replies, confirming it's the Earth Ignis. And poor Hayami. Hayami is in charge of Akira's job for 5 minutes, and in the 5 minutes she's in charge of Akira's job, one of the employees calls her over and says, we have a message on this forum board that says this is the Earth Ignis, and Hayami laughs and says, obviously it's a hoax. The Earth Ignis wouldn't comment on a public forum like that. And then Akira walks over and says, do we have any leads? After being scolded by Queen. And Hayami just goes, nope, nothing in particular. And you can even see the character behind Hayami has this like worried expression on her face where she wants to say something, but I guess she knows she's in a position where she can't undermine her boss. She can't undermine the authority. So even though she wants to tell Akira, she can't. And unfortunately, the 5 minutes that poor Akira, steps out of the office to get scolded for not being able to capture the Ignis. Go is on some special mission. I didn't really understand that. I mean, I guess we'll learn a little bit more about that, but it seems he put Go Onizuka on some special mission, and Queen literally said, I hope you don't think that this company keeps employees who don't get results. Take that to heart and, do better. And then she just kicks him out of the VR program. And so he gets scolded by Queen, and he finally has an accurate lead on where the Earth Ignis might be, and Hayami ruins it for him. Just it's a true series of unfortunate events for Akira's eyes, and it unfortunately sums up his position on the show in Soltech. It's just, Soltech has been a series of unfortunate events for him. So that was humorous, but of course you feel bad for Akira, and Hayami really, not intentionally, obviously, because she loves Akira, really screwing him over there. And if it ever gets back to Queen that they had the lead on the Earth Ignis and they didn't follow up with it, that is going to be a really, really bad thing for Akira, because Queen intimidates me. I'm sure she intimidates the hell out of Akira. I'm sure she intimidates most people. And I love how she doesn't even take chess piece form in the VR world. She literally is by a poolside relaxing both times we've seen her, which is really awesome, and I think it's really fitting for her character. Playmaker goes and follows this message, and he finds the Earth Ignis, and they go into this weird realm that the Earth Ignis takes them into, which is kind of like, I don't know if they're in the Cyberse world, but it seems like they might be, or they're in just some kind of illusionary world where he makes the Cyberse appear, obviously, when he summons that heart monster. The dueling action was good. I made it seem like the Earth Ignis was one of the better duelist Ignises that they have. At the beginning, he was like, I don't really remember how the Earth Ignis duels, and then after his first turn, I was like, oh, that's right, I remember now. The Earth Ignis is a really good duelist, and just was like, oh, well, should have probably remembered that earlier. And Playmaker was able to turn the tables pretty well with one of his Link monsters. He got, the Earth Ignis's G Golem was pretty awesome. 2,800 attack points. When it's destroyed, it negates all the effects of face-up cards on the field on your opponent's side. So, pretty good effect because it prevented Playmaker from taking control of the monster. And then, of course, at the end of this episode, the Earth Ignis summons that heart that has 0 attack points. But, as Playmaker said, this heart, maybe it's like the heart of the Cyberse world. And I wonder if this is part of the test. The Earth Ignis clearly feels that humans destroyed the Cyberse world, that humans and the Ignis are both capable of building sophisticated societies, but he obviously feels that it's Ignis versus humans. He does not believe the two can exist together, at least at this moment. He does not believe that. Will his opinions change after this duel? Possibly, but he's very much, you're either Team Ignis or you're Team Human, and I don't understand, why you're on Playmaker's side, why you're Team Human, and I want to show you that it either has to be us or it has to be them. It cannot be both. And that's how Earth Ignis feels. And maybe it stems from the anger he feels because his home was destroyed, or maybe it stems from the person that he was based off of, which Playmaker says is Spectre. And if it's not Spectre, I would be stunned. I am going to say I am 95% sure, I never want to say 100% sure unless it's confirmed, that the Earth Ignis was based off Spectre, has a disdain for human beings, which is exactly how Spectre feels about humans. He uses a tree as his, like, dueling, like, partner. Like, the tree is what duels, and Spectre obviously views trees very sacredly and was, as he said, raised by a tree, basically, which was, yeah, kind of weird. And he uses Earth attribute monsters, which is what Spectre used as well, if I recall correctly. So, there's so many links between him and Spectre, and they have very opposite personalities, and that's been kind of another theory that has been going around, or maybe not a theory, but something people have noticed, where Playmaker's Ignis, even though it's based off Playmaker, has a much different personality. It seems that Spectre's Ignis has a much different personality than him, if it is actually the Earth Ignis. And it seems that Soulburner and Flame have pretty different personalities as well. So it seems like the personality traits didn't carry over, but 100% I would be very surprised if Spectre's Ignis is not Earth. Mainly, again, because of the ideals that they share with, in terms of not enjoying humans, in terms of looking down upon humans even, and it's, again, the more Ignis that we see, it's the less of, oh, you know, they want to work with humans, because the first Ignis we were introduced to is I, and he wanted to work with Playmaker, or he got caught with Playmaker, but he still got captured by Playmaker, but he still worked with him, and he still stays by his side. Same with Flame, the second Ignis we got introduced to. Then we got introduced to Windy, and he was a little more hesitant of humans. Now we're introduced to Earth, who is hesitant to the point where he's saying it's one or the other, like you have to pick a side. And how do Light and how do Aqua feel? That'll be very interesting to see going forward, and will the Ignis be able to coexist with humans? I'm not going to give any predictions on the duel yet. The 67 cast list was delayed. It is out now, and I'm going to make a video in a few days regarding the cast list, along with who I think is going to win this duel. But guys, please let me know all your thoughts on episode 66 down below. I genuinely did really enjoy the episode, and I'm very excited to talk to you all about it down below. Special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Alexa Baker, Christopher Johannes Bouska, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, and James Rose, and to my Diamond tier patron Soledsnak and bouldergeist, and to my Egyptian God tier patron Syn. Cannot thank all of you who support me on Patreon enough, and I cannot thank you guys for just watching my videos and supporting my content. I will talk to you down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.